The sun rises over Heartland Ranch, its soft golden light casting long shadows across the barn. It's another quiet morning, yet there's something different in the air today. Amy Fleming stands alone in the barn, grooming one of the horses, her movements slow and deliberate. But her mind is elsewhere, far from the calm routine of the morning. She brushes the horse's coat, lost in thought. The silence is deafening, not because of what's around her, but because of what's inside. Amy's hands are steady, but her heart is racing. There's something she's been hiding, something she's been trying to ignore, but it's eating away at her. She catches herself staring at the barn door, as if waiting for someone. A part of her still expects to see Ty walk through it, his familiar smile lighting up the room. But the reality is harsh. Ty is gone. And even though she's tried, there's a part of Amy that still can't let go. A gentle cough breaks her reverie. She turns to see Lou standing in the doorway, her expression filled with concern. Lou knows Amy too well. "You okay?" Lou asks, her voice soft, almost hesitant. Amy forces a smile, brushing her hair back. "Yeah, just thinking." Lou steps closer, crossing her arms. "About Ty?" Amy freezes, the question hanging in the air like a weight she can't escape. She doesn't answer right away. Instead, she goes back to grooming the horse, pretending to focus on the task at hand. "It's been a while, Amy," Lou continues, her voice gentle but probing. "You haven't talked about him much lately. How are you really doing?" The words hit harder than Amy expected. She knows Lou only means well, but Amy can't shake the feeling that every conversation about Ty just pulls her back into a place she's not sure she wants to revisit. "I'm fine," she says, but it's not convincing. Lou's eyes narrow, sensing the tension. "I know you're not. You're still carrying a lot, and you don't have to do that alone. We're family, Amy." Amy's gaze drops to the horse she's been brushing. She doesn't want to talk about Ty, not now. Not when she's holding on to something so private, so fragile. She changes the subject, trying to deflect. "I'm planning something," Amy says quietly. "Something for the ranch." Lou raises an eyebrow, intrigued but cautious. "What do you mean?" Amy hesitates. It's something I've been working on, but I'm not ready to talk about it yet." Lou nods, understanding more. Then Amy realizes. "Whenever you're ready, you know where to find me." But Amy's mind is already far away. She knows Lou doesn't press further, but the weight of her secret presses down on her. Every day, every moment feels like it's pulling her closer to a decision she's afraid to make. A decision that could change everything. The barn feels colder now, the soft morning light no longer comforting but eerie. Amy looks around, but it's not the barn that feels strange. It's her. She feels like she's hiding, not just from others but from herself. And then she hears it, the faint sound of hooves outside. Amy glances out of the barn window, her heart skipping a beat. It's Nathan riding in, his figure becoming clearer with every passing second. For a moment, she almost forgets about the secret she's keeping. But then, the weight of it returns, settling heavily on her chest. She knows that soon she'll have to decide whether she can keep it hidden any longer, or if the truth will come spilling out. Nathan's increasing doubts. Nathan sat in the saddle, his posture stiff, eyes focused on the horizon as his horse trotted through the morning mist. The ranch was quiet, the kind of peaceful silence that only a place like Heartland could offer. But for Nathan, peace felt like a distant dream. His mind was far from calm, and his heart a little too heavy. The more time passed, the more he could feel Amy slipping away. It wasn't something he could put into words, not easily. She was there, physically present, but emotionally, she was somewhere else, somewhere he couldn't follow. He nudged his horse into a canter, pushing the thoughts aside for a moment, but they always came back. Amy's distant looks, her distracted manner, the moments where she'd just zone out. It wasn't like her. He had seen the way she used to be, open, vibrant, always able to talk through anything. But now, she was distant, closed off, and every time he tried to bring it up, she brushed it aside. Nathan rode past the main house, catching a glimpse of Lou in the window. She looked up and waved, but he didn't return the gesture. He couldn't. His mind was too tangled, his feelings too raw. He knew better than to ignore his instincts. Deep down, something was off, and no matter how hard he tried to convince himself that everything was fine, it wasn't. Not really. He had tried to talk to Amy about it, to ask her what was wrong. But every time, she either changed the subject or avoided the conversation altogether. Frustration bubbled inside him. He wasn't asking for much. All he wanted was for her to let him in, to let him help carry whatever burden she was hiding. But it felt like she was shutting him out, and that stung more than he cared to admit. Nathan made his way to the barn, his mind racing as he dismounted. He stood there for a moment, staring at the barn door, knowing that soon he'd have to face Amy. She wasn't going to keep this secret forever. And whatever it was starting to feel like a wall between them, a wall he couldn't scale. He turned and walked toward the barn, his boots crunching on the gravel beneath him. The door creaked as he pushed it open. Inside, Amy was at the far end, bent over a tack box, absorbed in whatever she was doing. The faint sound of the horses' hooves was the only thing that seemed to cut through the silence. "Hey," Nathan said softly, trying to sound casual, even though he could feel the tension between them thickening like smoke. Amy looked up, her face a mix of surprise and relief, as though she had been expecting this moment. "Hey," she replied, her voice quieter than usual, almost guarded. Nathan took a few steps closer, leaning against a nearby post. "We need to talk." Amy hesitated, her gaze flickering to the side before meeting his. "About what?" His eyes narrowed, sensing the evasion in her tone. "Don't do that, Amy. We need to talk about this. About you. You've been acting different lately." Amy straightened up, her hands still resting on the tack box. She avoided his gaze for a moment, and Nathan could see the defensiveness in her posture. She was preparing for something, but he wasn't sure what. "I'm just tired," she said after a beat, as if that explained everything. Nathan shook his head, a little more frustrated now. "It's not just that. You're pulling away from me, and I don't get it. You haven't been the same since everything happened." Amy's eyes flickered with something, a flash of emotion she quickly masked. "Nathan, I'm fine. Really. I just need some space, okay?" "Space?" Nathan repeated, his tone hardening. "We're supposed to be a team, Amy. You don't get to just shut me out whenever things get tough. I'm here for you." Amy swallowed, her jaw tightening as if she were holding back something bigger than she could say. For a moment. She looked like she was going to say something more, but she bit her lip and stayed silent. Nathan could see the struggle in her eyes. She wanted to tell him. He could feel it. But whatever it was too painful for her to say out loud. Nathan's frustration reached a boiling point. He had to know. He couldn't keep living like this, not knowing what was really going on inside her. "I can't keep doing this, Amy," he said, his voice softer now, but there was a trace of hurt in it. "You're not being honest with me, and I need you to be. I'm not asking for a lot, but I can't stand being kept in the dark." Amy finally looked up, meeting his eyes. The silence stretched out between them, and Nathan could see the conflict in her face. She was torn. But before she could say anything, there was a shift in the air, a sense that she was about to reveal something, a secret, something that had been buried deep inside her. But she didn't. Instead, she simply nodded, her expression unreadable. "I'll tell you when I'm ready," she said, her voice quiet, almost too quiet. Nathan stood there staring at her, his heart pounding in his chest. She wasn't ready. Yet. But he wasn't sure how much longer he could wait. Something had to give soon. Amy's plan unfolds in secrecy. The barn was empty, save for the soft rustling of hay and the steady breathing of the horses. It was late, darker than usual for a summer evening, but Amy didn't care. She wasn't ready to call it a night. The world outside felt too heavy, and here, in the quiet solitude of the barn, she could breathe. Amy stood at the workbench, her hands busy with a project she hadn't shared with anyone. The wooden surface was cluttered with materials, photos, papers, a few of Ty's old sketches. Each item was a piece of a puzzle Amy had been carefully assembling for weeks. She had kept this hidden, not just from Nathan, but from everyone. It wasn't something she could explain easily, not even to herself. She looked down at the photo in her hand, a faded image of Ty smiling beside a horse they had trained together. Her heart squeezed painfully, the memory of his warmth, his energy, so vivid it felt like he was still here. She could almost hear his voice, his laughter. But this wasn't about longing for the past. It was about healing, about doing something she felt Ty would have wanted. It had been years since Ty passed, but his legacy still lived on in her, in the work they'd done together, in the horses they had saved. Amy knew she couldn't just move on like nothing had happened. Ty had been a part of everything she had built, and part of her still clung to that bond. But there was something more. She needed something Ty would have understood. She had always been about the horses, about their healing, but this was different. It wasn't just about the ranch. It was about her too. Amy gently placed the photo down and turned her attention to the project in front of her. She had spent weeks researching and planning, and now the time had come to put her idea into motion. What she was about to do was risky, and she knew it could hurt Nathan, could push him away for good. But she also knew it was the only way she could truly move forward. She had decided to restore the old training barn, the one where she and Ty had spent so many long hours working with the horses. It was falling apart, neglected and forgotten, just like the piece of her heart that had remained closed off since his death. But bringing it back to life would be a tribute, not just to Ty's memory, but to what they had shared. She imagined the place alive again, full of energy, of hope, the way it had been when Ty was there beside her. Amy knew Nathan wouldn't understand. He had always respected Ty's memory, but this felt too personal, too raw. If she told him now, he'd never accept it. He was still trying to move forward with her, and this project, this plan, it felt like pulling her back into the past when Nathan wanted her to look to the future. Her fingers traced the edges of the blueprint she had drawn, the vision of the barn's restoration becoming clearer with every line. She had already begun gathering the materials in secret. She had talked to Jack and Lou about small repairs around the ranch, all the while hiding the truth about what she was really doing. No one knew the full scope of what she had planned, and she wasn't sure she was ready to share it with anyone. Not yet. The sounds of the ranch outside seemed far away as Amy stood there, the weight of her decision hanging in the air. She could feel her heart beating faster now, her mind racing with thoughts of Nathan, of the possible fallout, but also of the possibility of finally, truly, healing. The project wasn't just about the barn. It was about her reclaiming a part of herself she had buried when Ty left. It was about honoring the love they had shared without being trapped by it. It was about finding a way to let go and move forward, on her terms. As Amy folded the blueprint carefully, she took one last glance at the photo of Ty. The edges were worn from years of handling, but it still held that familiar spark of his spirit, the same spirit that had once made her feel invincible. She smiled softly, her eyes misting over, but this time it wasn't with sadness. It was with determination. This wasn't about clinging to the past. This was about creating something new, something that would always have Ty's memory at its core, but that would also allow Amy to build a future. But she had to do it her way, on her terms. Before she could linger on the thought any longer, Amy tucked the blueprint into her bag and quickly made her way to the door, checking to make sure the coast was clear. She didn't know how much longer she could keep this secret, but she was committed. The barn would be restored, and with it, a piece of herself would heal, even if no one understood why. As she stepped into the cool night air, Amy glanced over her shoulder one last time. The ranch seemed peaceful, the shadows stretching long in the quiet of the evening. But in the depth of her heart, Amy knew that peace wouldn't last. Nathan would find out sooner or later, and when he did, the storm she had been trying to avoid would finally break. And she wasn't sure if she could weather it. Nathan confronts Amy. The evening sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the ranch with shades of gold and orange. But for Nathan, The beauty of the scene was lost on him. He stood at the edge of the porch, staring out into the distance, but his mind was miles away. Amy's growing distance had begun to eat at him like a slow burn. Every time he reached out, it felt like she was pulling away. Every day, the gap between them seemed wider, the silence more suffocating. He had tried to ignore it, tried to let it go, but now he couldn't. His patience was running thin, and his concern had turned into frustration. He needed answers, and tonight he was going to get them. He didn't wait for her to come to him. No more playing games, no more pretending everything was fine. He walked down the porch steps with purpose, his boots making a steady rhythm on the gravel. He knew exactly where to find her. Amy was in the barn again, her back to him as she bent over a pile of papers and blueprints on the workbench. The faint light from the barn's windows cast long shadows across the floor, and she didn't hear him approach. Nathan paused for a moment, watching her. She looked so focused, so wrapped up in whatever she was doing, yet there was something about her that seemed distant, as if she had already shut him out. He had no idea what she was planning, but it was clear she was keeping something from him. The weight of it was too much to ignore. Without a word, Nathan stepped inside, the barn door creaking softly behind him. Amy stiffened, but she didn't turn around. She knew he was there. "Amy?" Nathan said, his voice steady but with an edge he couldn't hide. "We need to talk." She didn't respond immediately. Instead, she continued working, almost like she was avoiding the conversation, hoping it would go away. Nathan's frustration spiked. "I'm serious, Amy. This has gone on long enough." Her hands paused mid-motion, and she finally turned to face him, her expression guarded. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The tension between them was palpable, thick and uncomfortable, as if the very air in the barn was holding its breath. "I don't know what's going on with you," Nathan continued, his eyes searching hers for answers. "But this isn't like you. You've been shutting me out, keeping me at arm's length, and I'm done pretending I don't notice." Amy opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out at first. She took a deep breath, as if steeling herself for what was to come. "Nathan, no." He cut her off, taking a step closer. "I need you to be honest with me. I can't do this anymore. If you're not ready to be with me, just say it, but don't make me guess, don't make me wonder. What are you hiding, Amy?" Amy's eyes flashed with a mix of emotions, surprise, hurt, and a flicker of guilt. But she didn't look away. She hadn't expected this confrontation, not so soon, not so directly. But now that it was happening, she could feel her walls starting to crack, the secret she had been carrying inside her pushing harder against the surface. She didn't know if she could hold it back much longer. "I'm not hiding anything from you," she said, her voice quieter now, the words more carefully chosen. Nathan raised an eyebrow, unconvinced. "Then why do I feel like I don't even know you anymore? Why do I feel like I'm losing you, Amy?" Her throat tightened, and for a second, it felt like the whole world was closing in on her. She had to tell him. She had to. But the words felt like they were stuck in her chest, too heavy to speak aloud. "I'm sorry," she whispered, looking down at the floor. I've been trying to figure things out, Nathan. And I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know how to tell you." Nathan felt his heart pound in his chest. "Tell me what, Amy?" She paused for what felt like an eternity, her fingers playing nervously with a piece of paper on the workbench. When she finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper, it was as if she were speaking to herself as much as to him. "I'm restoring the old training barn," she said, her eyes flickering to his for a brief moment before dropping again. "I'm bringing it back to life. It's something I've been working on in secret for a while now." Nathan's eyes widened, his mind racing to catch up with what she had just said. "The barn?" he repeated, his voice rising with a mix of disbelief and confusion. "You've been doing this without telling me?" Amy nodded, her gaze fixed on the ground. "I didn't know how to explain it, Nathan. I didn't know how to make you understand. It's not just about the ranch. It's about..." It's about Ty and what we had. I thought maybe restoring it would help me heal. But I know it probably sounds crazy, and I'm sorry. I should have told you earlier, but I didn't want to hurt you. The silence between them was deafening. Nathan stood frozen for a moment, trying to absorb what she had just said. His chest tightened, not from anger, but from something deeper, something he couldn't quite name. He stepped back, shaking his head. You didn't think telling me would hurt me? Amy, we've been trying to build something here, something real, and you've been keeping this from me. I didn't know what else to do, she said softly, her voice tinged with regret. I didn't want to pull you into something that felt like I was still living in the past. But it's more than that, Nathan. It's about finding a way forward, even if it means taking a step back first. Nathan's hands clenched at his sides, the conflict raging inside him. He could feel the anger and hurt bubbling up, but there was also something else, something he couldn't shake. A feeling that Amy was telling the truth, that what she was doing was important to her. But could he understand it? Could he accept it? Amy, he said, his voice quieter now, I don't know if I can just let go of everything we've been working on, everything we've been building, but I can't pretend this doesn't hurt. Amy swallowed, her eyes welling with tears. I know I've hurt you, but I need this. I need to do this for me, and I hope in time you can understand why. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The weight of what had been said hung between them, fragile yet undeniable. Nathan wanted to walk away, to escape the days after the conversation in the barn were a blur. The ranch, once filled with the hum of everyday life, now felt suffocatingly silent. It wasn't just the air, it was the space between Amy and Nathan, an invisible gap that neither of them seemed able to bridge. The weight of their conversation still hung heavy between them, a cloud neither could shake. Amy moved through her days mechanically. She fed the horses, worked with the animals, tended to the ranch, but all of it felt distant. Even the familiar smells of the hay, the earth, the soft whinny of the horses. Everything seemed muted, like she was experiencing it from a distance. She couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted inside her. And though she knew it was necessary, it didn't make it any easier to carry. And Nathan? Nathan was somewhere between the storm and the calm, struggling to find his footing. He spent his mornings in the barn working alone, pushing himself harder than usual. But no matter how much he worked, the gnawing feeling in his chest remained. The hurt Amy had caused was deep, but so was his love for her. He hadn't expected this, hadn't expected that the woman he was building a future with would keep something so big from him. In the quiet moments when the world slowed down and there were no distractions, Nathan's thoughts would drift back to the barn, Amy standing there, her hands trembling as she revealed her secret. The look in her eyes, the raw honesty, was a stark contrast to the distance she'd been keeping from him. He couldn't help but wonder, did she truly think this was the only way to heal? Or had she just been trying to preserve something of her past that couldn't be saved? One evening, after another day of silence and distance, Nathan couldn't take it anymore. He had tried, really tried to let it go. But the ache in his chest was growing, the walls between him and Amy rising, higher with every passing hour. He couldn't pretend he was okay, couldn't keep living like this. He found her outside by the fence, standing alone, gazing out over the pasture. Her silhouette was framed by the setting sun, the orange glow casting long shadows over the land. It was a beautiful view, one he knew she loved, and yet, in that moment, it felt like a cruel reminder of the distance between them. Amy, Nathan said, his voice tentative, unsure of the words he was about to speak. He took a few steps closer, watching as she turned, her face softening when she saw him. But the sadness in her eyes hadn't gone anywhere. If anything, it was deeper now, almost like a permanent fixture. I've been thinking, he began, struggling to find the right way to say it. I've been trying to understand. I've been trying to see it from your side, and I want to. I really do. But I don't know if I can. Amy looked down, her hands clasped tightly in front. of her. She could feel the heaviness in his words, the finality in them, and it crushed her. "I never meant to hurt you," she said quietly, her voice trembling just enough to reveal the vulnerability she had been hiding for so long. "You're right. I should have told you sooner. I should have trusted you enough to share this with you. But I was scared. I thought if I kept it to myself, I wouldn't lose you. I thought if I could just make it happen without you knowing, maybe we could keep going like everything was normal." Nathan stood there, his heart torn in two. He could feel her pain, could see it in every line of her face. And yet there was a part of him that still felt betrayed. It wasn't about the barn. It was about the secrecy, the distance. He had wanted to be there for her, wanted to be a part of whatever healing she was trying to do. But this wasn't something he could just accept without feeling like he had been shut out. "I get it," Nathan said, his voice quieter now, softer, as if he were trying to speak through the wall between them. "I understand why you did it. But it feels like you've been living in the past, Amy. And it hurts. It hurts because I'm right here. I've always been right here, and I just want to be a part of your future, not your memories." Amy swallowed, her throat tight with emotion. She hadn't expected him to forgive her, hadn't expected this to be easy. But the reality of what she had done, the space she had put between them, was finally hitting her with full force. She had tried to protect them both, but in the end, all she had done was create an even bigger chasm between her and Nathan. "I don't know how to make this right," Amy admitted, the tears finally threatening to spill over. "I don't know if I can. But I'm not asking you to forget Ty. I'm not asking you to pretend like he wasn't a part of me, because he was. But I don't want to keep hiding either. I want to find a way to live with the past and still move forward."